How's everyone doing? This is Ryan Russell, Assistant Superintendent for K-4. I'm here to give you the overview about your new iPads. Just a little overview today that's going to share about the purpose, just some philosophies behind it, and some basic information for you as you get acquainted with your device and as we move forward. A few things just philosophically wanted to talk about as we're reviewing our plan for what one-to-one looks like in the future. One thing that we believe is absolutely critical is obviously a focus on learning. With use of Chromebooks in the past and even currently now, a lot of that focus has been put on consuming digital content and not necessarily creating or inspiring an active engagement with students to create projects and have a uniqueness to the types of activities that can do in their classroom. We believe through this transition, the iPad specifically gives a better opportunity for students to use the device for inspiration, use the device to create, and making sure that students have the ability to use these tools in a way that's truly going to be more relevant to the type of work that they have to do in the future. Timeline questions and ultimately where are we going, which a lot of this information I'm sure you've probably heard before. Here's where we are now. All K-4 teachers are getting teacher iPads. Those are the devices you have in front of you now. Those devices obviously are being distributed to any certified staff member who works in a K-4 building. In that transition, and that's in preparation for next school year, all of our K2 students will have iPads as well. So first and second grade will transition from the Chromebook to the iPad. That device will be an identical device to the one that you're holding in your hand now that has the case as well. As well as iPads, we believe that it's important for the whole experience to make sure that there is a TV monitor, that's a 65-inch monitor with a secure stand and Apple TV, which allows for a visual display of not only your iPad as the instructor, but for students to visually display work as well. So those will be incorporated into all K-4 teacher classrooms. Obviously, we're starting off with teacher grade level assignment classrooms, and as we are able to expand to make sure that those TVs and monitors and Apple displays penetrate really every instructional area in the building. And then for the following year, which is 2021, 3-4 students will receive iPads as well. But the primary focus of where we're going is really summed up with that shift from the consumption of digital content to the creation of more meaningful learning experiences. One of the questions that we'll get a lot, and we know that even through some previous conversations, is a focus on the iOS App Store or the Apple iStore, where there's an app for that. We've seen those commercials in the past, and we know, but the fact of the matter remains is that our focus will be less about apps and more about what we can do natively within iOS as far as the use of the built-in features, to create projects, to get students up and moving, to create meaningful learning that happens in a way where students are creating work that's not identical to one another. So at this time, we're not focusing on apps. There's not going to be a process for app requests for your devices right now. We'll talk more about that as we go through this presentation, but ultimately, it's not a focus of apps. It's a focus on learning. And as we get more and more support with the devices and the vision of learning, that will become more apparent and hopefully inspiring. Ideally, obviously these are pictures of just a generic monitor and stand, what the Apple TV looks like, and then of course the iPad. We've been adamant, we want all K-4 staff to have the teacher device, the iPad, before students get their hands on it. We believe that's important. We believe that if you were a part of Warren Township as Race to the Top started, the first time you may have saw a Chromebook was the day they were in your classrooms in a carts, and may have been the very first day students had that opportunity for a Chromebook. So for K2 staff, obviously, the rest of this school year and throughout the summer, and then for 3-4 staff, We wanted to provide some extended opportunities for you to be comfortable with the device, understand the learning components to it, so you'll fully be able to use that as you're able to integrate when students get their iPads in the 2021 school year. It's totally designed as an adult support. So not only will these devices be able to do a lot of functions that you'll need to do as a teacher, you'll be able to start to prep and plan and think about really what that integration looks like for your students as your students receive those iPads in the future. All right, now this part is where you're going to use your Warren issued Apple ID to log into the iPad that you have in front of you. There's a video that's referenced here, or it's bedded into the presentation that's on the regular Google slide deck. So if you're interested in more of a step-by-step, I would encourage you to look at that. I'm not going to play that here through this video. However, I am going to walk you through it. Your Warren issued Apple ID does a lot of things. It connects your iPad to the ecosystem of everything that we have developed as a support here into Warren, which includes 200 gigs of storage. It'll also allow where if there's any ever a damaged iPad or you have to pick up a new iPad for any reason, you log into that new iPad and all your content will show back up on the new iPad. So it kind of keeps it all synced and available so that regardless of what happens, it'll be there. It's also going to have some links to some important features that we're going to talk about in the future. Some of those features include the ability for students to be able to turn in work directly to you, to your iPad, for you to be able to monitor and look at student devices in a way that's going to not only enhance safety and security, but give you a lot of just great teacher-embedded practices that you'll be able to accomplish with that. So this really is a glue that's going to hold some things together. The bottom line is what you're going to want to do is go to Settings on your iPad. And in Settings, in the top left-hand corner, you'll see a little area for you to sign into your iPad. You'll want to use the email that you received from Apple that has your Apple ID, which looks a lot like your Warren email address, but it has Apple ID in there as well, and then the generic password that it provided for you. Once you type in that email address, the Apple ID, and the password, it's going to ask you to set up a verification. That verification, you can type in your cell phone number, which I recommend, and then it'll give you a code for a two-step verification process. Putting your cell phone number in there is important just because what it'll do is if you ever forget your password, it'll use your cell phone number to text you the information on how to reset your password. So you want to take it through that process. And then once you verify with your cell phone the text that it sent you, it's going to ask you to change your password to something obviously that only you will know. Again, we won't have the ability to change your password. However, once you set up your verification code through your cell phone, if you ever need to change your password, you can do so through that step. So once you get signed in, you'll be ready to move on to the next step. Just a few notes about iPads in general. As I mentioned before, there's going to be no app request at this time. Our focus is going to be on the foundational features within iOS. Obviously, there's apps there ready for you to use now, and we'll talk more about those. And a lot of support will be around those primarily to start. I'm not suggesting that there'll never be a process for app requests, but right now the focus is going to be on learning the device at a deeper level. Please keep your iPads in the cases that are provided. They're very difficult to get out, which is certainly good for students, but keep them in the case that was provided, not only as a safety measure for the device itself, so it's less likely to be damaged, but they're designed to be used in the case. The keyboards can be detached. Obviously, they're only magnetic, so if you'd rather not use the keyboard, you can certainly pull that apart fairly easy and simply connect it back again when you want to use it. Right now there is no supported printing for the iPad. We are updating our system to allow you to be able to print from your iPad in the future. That'll be available next year. However, for right now, there's no printing from your iPad at this time. Right now, questions are a key term, like who do you go for help or questions? At this time, it's your building leader. Your building leader can answer any of your questions or find access to the right person who can answer your questions about iPads. But for right now, that'll be our go-to support. There's also a part at the end of this presentation that will give you the opportunity to type in any question you may have. All questions that are entered will get a direct response and support. Speaking of support, the one thing to keep in mind, we, as part of the iPad purchased a warranty and technical support. So the number up here, the 1-800-800-2775 is a direct educational line to AppleCare. That AppleCare support is available for you 7 days a week to be able to answer any technical question you have about your iPad. I forgot how to sign in. I don't know how to sign in. I'm having trouble using an AirPlay feature, or I have a specific question about whether it's an app or a process on the iPad. They're available to answer those questions. It's a real person. It's not a computer. But the technical support line is option 3. If you dial that number and go to option 3, that's available as part of our support package from Apple. The app portal is something that I do want to be able to show you, and I can't play this through this video just to give you an idea of what some of that looks like. But specifically, you will not see the Apple iStore on your device, or the Apple iTunes Store on your device. What you will see is an app here called the App Portal. And on that App Portal, gives you an opportunity to download some additional apps that may not already be on your iPad. Those apps have already been pre-approved and allocated for your devices in your building. So if there's something specifically you're looking for, I know we just added Incident IQ and Clever on there that are not immediately on your iPad when you just turn them on. If you want those, you simply just need to click on that app portal, and then you can click the app that you want and click install, and it will immediately install, or within 30 seconds to a minute, install on your iPad for you to be able to use that. As we find additional apps that will be great resources, again, the focus won't be apps, but as we find those, we'll push those out through the app portal for you to be able to download on demand. One of the things that we wanted to focus out when we distribute iPads was really to dive into some of the what we would call our notable enhancements that we think all teachers will be excited about. I'm not going to play these videos through here, or through this presentation right now, but I encourage you to explore them on your own. I'll highlight each one and just give you a brief background. I'm going to start in the top left-hand corner here is Apple Classroom. Apple Classroom, as we've worked with kindergarten teachers right now and through a variety of other educators that we've had conversations with, has been one of the most well-received and pieces that educators are most excited about. Apple Classroom provides you with a lot of ability as a teacher to control your student devices, everything from view what's on their screen, to be able to lock them out of certain apps, to be able to lock down everyone's iPad so they can pay attention to you, to be able to turn in work and create groups and other parts. So some of the first support that we're going to receive for all teachers is about Apple Classroom. There's a lot of Apple Classroom to go over, so it's not something that we can go over in a brief presentation right now, but if you want to get a quick overview, this video does a good job of that. Apple Schoolwork is another one of those. Apple Schoolwork is Apple's version of a learning management system that specifically will allow you to create assignments, have students turn in work, and do a lot of variety of things along those lines. Certainly appropriate for grades as low as kindergarten, and certainly as kids get older, the possibilities of how we can integrate that into things that we're already doing are great. Clips. Apple Clips is not only fun, but it's an app where students can use creative expression to be able to create videos, to demonstrate their learning on in a variety of ways. One of these will engage all teachers in how to organize and create clips to be able to demonstrate learning, and it's certainly a wonderful part of the Apple suite that I'm excited to see used in classrooms. Another big enhancement, especially when we're talking about the Chromebook, is all the built-in accessibility features that Apple has in their devices. So when we specifically talk about the iPad, everything from screen readers to translators to specific features for students with may either be deaf or hard of hearing, blind, low vision, any type of feature that you can really possibly imagine is baked into the actual iPad or the iOS system. So it wouldn't require additional software or tools to be able to provide those accommodation features. Apple does a really good job with that, and this video just highlights some of those across many other devices and platforms, but it's something that we can certainly get excited about as far as the amount of support that it'll provide for students. Here's really what I want you to do to complete the overall tutorial. What you're going to want to do is, one thing unique to iOS devices is you don't need a QR code reader to read a QR code. So what you want to do is you're going to want to just open your camera, port your camera at this QR code. What you'll see is a notification will come up on the very top of your screen. You're going to click that notification and it's going to take you to a Google form. That Google form is very basic. It's just asking for your name, your contact information, or your name, your email. And it's simply going to ask you if you have any questions that you would like to have answered about the iPad. Again, this is a place where you can ask anything you want about anything related to iPad. All questions will be answered. And it's also a way for you to link that you've registered your device and you're ready to receive some additional supports and notifications that are going to come out about the iPad experience. What I will say is we will do a drawing on Friday, March 15th. So for everyone who uses their camera to do this QR code and signs up, and whether they ask a question or not, will be in a drawing to be able to receive an Apple Pencil to be able to integrate and use with their iPad, which if you haven't seen it, I think it would be something that you would be very much interested in. So at this time, that really completes the overall basic tutorial for the distribution of your iPad. I'm excited to get started on this journey with you all and look forward to the great things that are going to happen in your classroom.